My name is Tomás Sercovich. I am the CEO of Business in the Community Ireland. I have been in this role for the last 4 years, but I have been associated with Business in the Community in Ireland for close to 15 years. I'm originally from Argentina, and I've always had an interest in the area of sustainable development and corporate responsibility, probably even before it was stated as such. But my career to date allowed me to look at the role of business in society and how it can have positive and negative impacts, and probably experienced some of those negative impacts growing up in Argentina, when we've had several economic crises and probably not very responsible businesses operating at the time. And that allowed me to really look at how we can improve that space. And now I'm very passionate about what is the role of business in driving for positive change. In my perspective, sustainability has moved on significantly over the last 2 years, never mind 5, 10, or 20. It's something we're seeing very much top of mind. And if I think of consumers and how consumers are telling us through surveys, and that's what when they're talking to brands or companies they work with, that they want to live sustainably and that they want advice as to how to live sustainably, because it sounds very complicated. So is it about the size of the engine of your car? Is it about eating meat or not, and the substitutes of meat? Is it about buying local or buying from developing countries where trade is also good for developing those countries? Is it around the number of trips you do every year? Is it about the living and working conditions of the workers in the industries that produce the clothes that you wear? So that concern is always there, and it's growing. I would say this through various different angles. The first one is in our own low carbon pledge, and this is in the Community Ireland. What we are asking companies now is to ensure that no later than 2024, sounds like a long time, but it's not, it's only 2 years, they will have set science-based targets aiming for net zero. So obviously when we talk about net zero, it's eliminating all emissions, and that obviously has an impact on forest from the perspective of construction materials, packaging, and all the various uses that forests and forest products have. So clearly, in industries and in companies where that is part of their activity, or they're investing in sustainable activities, forest management has to be part of it, and sustainable forest management, and never mind certified sustainable forest management. So that is absolutely critical. I think in a way, for companies that are only starting on this journey, the low-hanging fruit, as we call it, it would have been made very clear years ago when it was all about recycled paper, or recycled or furniture made with recycled timber, or from sustainable sources. So clearly there's a journey there to further educate consumers and buyers around this, but it plays a significant role. So that to me is one angle that we need to be very, 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 very mindful. The second one is that obviously there is a forest industry in Ireland, like in so many countries around the world. There is a very clear awareness around how limited that resource is, about the balance that has to be kept between maintaining and protecting biodiversity, and also generating growing sustainably forests that can be used for industry, because they're much needed for our daily lives. So it's more and more in consciousness, and it's more and more part of government strategy when it comes to this. So I see it very much as fully embedded into what government, business, and individual people are doing. I definitely think that labels and standards are fundamental, and we do it ourselves in our own organization. But it's about that continuous journey. But also, there's something around pricing, which I think it's going to be a temporary, I hope, challenge for all of us in this sector, because we're seeing growing inflation and therefore growing consumer awareness about prices, and to what degree the consumer is now going to give a premium on sustainability and therefore sustainably certified products or not. And I think that's going to be telling, and that's where now it's a time where we need incredible leadership of business. We need to see businesses saying, well, if you're going to buy paper for your printer, there's only but sustainably sourced and therefore labeled as such PEFC paper for printing in my shop, or timber or whatever it is. And I think that is exactly the challenge for that. Keep on influencing the consumer and strong leadership from business. We need to come together in this agenda for sustainability. We need to ensure that this is not something that in a few years' time will be left behind or forgotten. I personally think it's too late to stop that movement, but we cannot take it for granted, and we cannot leave anybody outside this. So I think it's very important, and finally, to keep that strong balance between environmental, but also social and societal issues, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. We need a planet that's healthy with people that can pursue their livelihoods, and that's the balance we need to make.